All right, hello everybody. How is everybody doing? Today I'm going to give you a quick update on my weekly progress. All right, this is basically week one of me learning Trial of Tears by Dream Theater. Now, this is a bit of a 13-minute monster. All right, an infamous number that comes from the album Falling into Infinity. It's the final track, and it's the last one that I got to worry about for this album as well. But it's a doozy. Some parts of it are incredibly easy. Yet some parts are incredibly difficult, as is with Dream Theater, right? You're not going to get something that's fully easy, all right? Even the easy songs can be a little tough at sometimes, but this is not an easy song by any stretch of the imagination. 13 minutes of music to get through. Now, to be fair, certain bits are far more densely difficult than others, all right? Namely, the guitar solo in the middle has a lot of chords, a lot of different harmonic functions that have to be tackled and understood, and just learning the sheer licks, right? Been proving quite the challenge for me. Now, starting right out of the gate in this song, we have a free time introduction. All right, now that might not seem difficult. It doesn't seem like he's playing all that much with those nice little finger picked octaves in the beginning. But the real challenge of this is understanding exactly where you have to play each part and how long it goes. Because even though there is a click track that goes along with this introduction, it's not really clear exactly how long you're supposed to hold out certain notes. So that's actually been the hardest part. Trailing the original guitar track, trying to replicate it as closely as I possibly can, is much more difficult for this section because it is in free time. This whole section is meant to capture an ambiance, right? Now, of course, there's certain parts, right, like, but then right after you play that little lick that has a lot of rhythm, it devolves right back into the ambient free time setting. And like I said, the hardest part of the solo is understanding how long am I supposed to hold these notes out before the next part comes in, right? And then a lot of tricky licks as well put in between. And the phrasing, like I said, because it's in free time, is also difficult. Even figuring out where to play these different little these little licks in there, like this. And then when do you come in for the next one, huh? How many beats exactly do you have to count on that click track? Well, I've basically had to go in and learn that as well. So inside my head I have the metronome going, but I have the number of clicks in between those long notes that I have to count in order to really make sure I'm sticking along with the recording, all right? It's a very difficult thing to do, but I'm doing it, all right? And then look, there's little licks in between that riff as well. Whether it comes in on an upbeat, some of them come on downbeats, some of them come on upbeats. Now, of course, when the song kicks in, it's an upbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It's always the same time, right? But that's only when the drums kick in, when there's an actual 4/4 time signature that we can latch onto, right? The little thing after is easy. No problem there. And in typical Petrucci fashion, there's a lot of those arpeggiated chords that represent fragments of larger chords, and with a little bit of whammy bar jism in there as well. So really cool stuff for the most part. Now, in terms of like actually learning this section, I basically, I got a transcription from online, but of course we know how online transcriptions are. A lot of the times they're completely wrong. They're false. They might as well be falsified documents. But I go into those, I kind of go section by section, I'll copy it into Guitar Pro, and I'll edit it myself. and I'll make the notation make sense within a 4/4 rhythm. All right, so it's not up to the notation to, well, notate the style of a musician, which is what a lot of these tabs try to do. These tabs try to do too much. They're trying to notate the feel that John Petrucci is giving. Don't do that. Just put quarter notes and eighth notes and 16th notes, all right, and the rests. Don't try to complicate it with all these grace notes and like picking ideas. No, you can notate that in after the fact, or you can annotate it. You know, I try to keep it simple. I try to keep my tabs nice and neat with as little superfluous stuff as possible. Superfluous meaning unnecessary, extra things that don't have to be there to capture the actual meaning of the part, right? And that's been a part of the challenge as well, is having to go through a lot of this free time stuff and putting it in a grid, even though it's not, but trying to put it in a grid so it's easier to understand, so that when you go to try and learn it, you're like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. You just have to wait a certain amount of time and get into the groove here. So that's been a big challenge, but a lot of fun nonetheless, because luckily this is a great song to begin with, so I don't really have to worry too much about you know, getting bored with it, because it's been anything but boring. You know, the riffs aside, two different unique verses as well, right? We have this first verse that's just like, there's nowhere to hide. Once again, all those little spacious chords come in at very particular times, and some of the parts are improvised. Some of these arpeggios, I'm convinced, are improvised, especially the arpeggiations, because they always happen at different parts of the measure. But nonetheless, I've charted them all out. Those are easy enough to figure out, really. Then you have that little nice pre-chorus or chorus section. Very specific articulation though, right? And then of course, and all those parts of course have variations both times around. All right, so verse 1 is not the same as verse 2. 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. Now if you notice, there were certain times where I slid out of the note much faster than the original one. That's another challenging part of this, all right? So this is part of the whole process, is realizing, all right, how long am I holding out those notes? When do I cut it off? And when do I slide off those notes? Because the slides are quicker than the notes that you just, you know, kind of come off of. So, and it's in an odd time signature as well, all at the same time. And if I don't do this properly, then it's not, number one, it's not going to sound right. And then when I go to do the video, it's going to be completely out of whack. You know, I'm not going to remember what I played. So I have to really make sure I dial each portion of this in to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And I'm not going to be able to deliver the proper video analysis that I really want to deliver. Yeah, moving on with the song. The second chorus has a totally unique ending. The second post-chorus is doubled, so there's even more stuff, and slight changes in the rhythm, man. Slight changes in the rhythm. I'll give you an example. The first time you play this part, the last time you play it like this, you cut off some notes. And then go up. Sorry, my guitar's a little out of tune, but I didn't prepare as much as I should have for this video, but you get the point. Different endings, different stuff all over the place, you know? And then you got that bridge riff, which is based off the chorus riff, you know, all these different patterns and, you know, forms that have to be recognized when going through this, all right? So I'm taking note of all this simultaneously to make sure I deliver a good video to you. The guitar solo. Yeah, we all love this guitar solo, don't we? I'm sure you do. You sadistic bastards. I'm sure you love this guitar solo because, hey, it's probably one of his best. It's probably one of John Petrucci's best solos. objectively, I would say. Some of the melodic content gets lost a little bit because it's more along the lines of fusion playing than anything else. And it really plays along to every chord, which is something that, you know, John Petrucci in these 90s albums really did exceptionally well. All right? I'm not saying he didn't do it well in the future, but I guess the thing to note is that it's more harmonically interesting than a lot of stuff that comes out, you know, nowadays or whatever. Maybe with the exception, Parasomnia's got some good stuff on it, but, you know, all the stuff through the 2000s kind of abandoned a lot of the jazz fusion type of stuff, and this is in full force here. All right, and I'm not sure if it's the Ibanez guitar that inspired all those modes, like the Dorian mode or the altered scale. There's even some, you know, jazz harmony in here, melodic minor, you know, the whole tone scale. There's a lot of really colorful things going on in this. So I'm going to give you the first peek at my, you know, drive through this solo, and yeah, you know, we're just going to have fun with it. Now, I am by no means an expert at this solo yet. So anything you hear right now, it's going to be warts and all, clams and all, crabs and all. You know what I'm saying? So just bear with me, but it's a fun solo for sure. It's really, really, really good. And yeah, you know, it's all in E flat minor too. That's the crazy part. It's a very tough key to deal with. So here it is. Ready? Here's an attempt. It's not going to be good, but some of it might be. Here we go. Ready? Starts with this. Beautiful. Nice and tasty. I'm just messing around. Blues. Woo, then this. No idea. Then. All right, enough of that. Let's put that to bed, all right? That's as far as I got in this song, all right? Sorry, people. I'm not a freak of nature like you think I am. Maybe I am a little bit. I don't know what kind of sane person would do these videos and all this crap, but I am. And guess what, you know? It's a whole process. It's a whole journey involved with this, you know? From, you know, tabbing everything out, you know, getting transcriptions, watching live videos, you know? The Budokan video has been very, very helpful in this endeavor. All right, to see kind of where these positions start. Right, that first part, I thought it was here, but it turns out he's playing it over here, which I found very interesting, by the way, because he did play this in the verse section, but decided not to do it in the solo. It's typical John Petrucci. He has to play it with a slight variation each time. Now, all those colors and modes and, you know, it's the phrasing too. It's about, you know, it's the same difficulty as the intro in terms of, you know, being free time almost. There's a lot of groupings in there that are just so outside of the box of normal rhythms that, and obviously there's a lot of improvisation going on that he probably, you know, morphed into. He probably went and relearned this solo, you know, after it was done, you know. He was probably writing it in the studio, and, you know, that's just a little speculation, but it seems like a lot of these licks are they're very fluid, but they're kind of all over the place, you know? It's hard to pin down the melody with some of this stuff. Especially the legato sections, you know? A lot of stuff going on with that, right? And that's the exact lick too, right? So you have to really pinpoint like how many times you're doing some of these groupings and, you know, what scale you're in. Can anybody tell me what scale that was? What scale is that, huh? Chief? What do you got? You got a good answer for me? It's the F melodic minor scale, but on top of a C chord. Very interesting. I'll get into that when I get to the analysis. But, alright everybody, that's pretty much going to do it for this update here. You know, I'm working hard on it. I have some other great videos coming down the pipe, so I've been much more consistent with the upload. I've been trying to do once a week. I feel like I can handle that, I can tolerate that, and if I can't get an analysis video out in time, I'll just fill it in with something interesting, alright? Something I just think is fun to talk about, or blah blah, whether it's a rant, or maybe I'll continue the interval series. I'll do some more general music stuff. Maybe I'll dig into some other bands for a little bit. You know, I just want to have a lot of fun on this channel, and hopefully, you know, we learn something along the way. I think that's a definite thing, right? I think it's definite. We are learning. We're beyond the collegiate level here. We are going to, we're learning to the point that we're going to be sage-like. Alright, so the sagacity, the sagacity of this channel, I don't know if that's the word or not, but I'm using it. We're going to be very sage-like. That's my point here. We don't want to just stop at pure academics. No. Academia lacks wisdom. It lacks that sort of gusto that makes art and all of these different things so interesting to dissect. Okay? So we're not just going to be a bunch of old farts with our noses up in the air. We're going to do that. No. We're going to have a salt of the earth approach to this, and we're going to be real human beings in the process, okay? Because this music was made by real human beings who probably laughed at fart jokes. That's right. I'm just going to go out on a limb. We know that the guys in Dream Theater have a very interesting sense of humor, right? You can eat my ass and balls. Yeah, come on, guys. Let's be real here. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next video. You're going to like all of it, trust me. Even if you don't like these bands, please. These are very important albums, I feel. And, you know, they're worth listening to at the very least. Even if you don't want to dive into every single note, every single time change. All right. Thank you very much, and I will see you all later. Bye!